UFC 303 wasn't the only fight card to take a hit. UFC Saudi Arabia lost half of its main event when Khamzat Chimaev pulled out due to illness. Him too, we wish a speedy recovery. In steps Ikram Aliskerov, 15-1 overall, 2-0 in the UFC. Let's take a look at the new promo of this fight that's going down, because remember, it's Riyadh season out there in Saudi Arabia.
June 22nd, our first fight in the kingdom. We'll be going to Saudi Arabia.
These fans here are so passionate. This city deserves big fights. Robert Whittaker! The guy is a real killer. A nightmare to deal with inside the octagon. Ikram Aliskerov! This guy's power is otherworldly. He hits so hard and he's so fast. An absolute destroyer. What a fight between the heavyweights. This is what I am. Two dynamic knockout artists. Oh, what a fight this is. This fight's going to be incredible. Oh, it's going to go crazy in here now.
Here we go, UFC history. The King Show. A monumental night from a truly world-class destination.
Let's go.
That is a pretty slick promo for sure. But before we talk about the new main event, Fad, I want to go to you with something. Should we be concerned about Chimaev? He just seems to not catch any breaks, whether it's illnesses or the rough bout with COVID that he had, visa issues. Should we be concerned with Chimaev going forward? He's over. He's a star, but we're just not seeing him fight much.
Well, he's definitely had a string of terrible, terrible luck, especially the way he burst onto the UFC scene. But we've seen a lot of stars and big fight. I remember Habib's string of bad luck injuries for years.
Yeah.
And then Tatiana Suarez. We've seen a lot of fighters with tons of potential that just had a string of bad luck. So Khamzat, it's unfortunate. I spoke to his manager earlier, and he said, those retirement rumors are rubbish. I don't know where they came from, but I was seeing a lot of that online. I think I saw, again, some rumors, people talking about like it was food poisoning or not. I can't confirm that, but yeah, it sucks. And I think because Khamzat is always talking about wanting to fight anyone at any time, at any place. And he kind of, the way he came into the UFC with that record-breaking turnaround, 10 days, notching 2 wins across 2 weight classes, he made us have such high expectations of him. And obviously, unfortunately, it hasn't really been the case in the past couple of years. He last fought in October, which isn't too long ago, but overall in the past couple of years, it hasn't been the most active schedule for him. So obviously he's got tons of potential. A lot of people dubbed him as a future champion. I've been one of them. I've been saying that for so many years. I was there when he fought Ikram Aliskerov, and when he knocked him out, I knew that this guy was going to be special because I also know how good Ikram is. That is Ikram's only loss on his record, but it was good to see Khamzat show off some of his striking, something that I didn't think he had at that point. Granted, he wasn't able to take down Ikram. So back then, I knew how special Khamzat was going to be. And it's just unfortunate that we haven't been able to see it play out. But I just think it's a string of bad luck. And I think hopefully maybe next year he can get on an active schedule, 2-3 fights a year, and live up to the potential that I feel like he has and a lot of people think he has.
Do you know for a fact if he can fight in North America, or does he have issues that keep him in that part of the world?
I'm not 100% sure, but it seems like based off of his bookings as of late, I know the market caters to him. The bookings as of late suggest that he could. But now with the UFC going global, I don't think it really matters anymore if he can or can't, because you've got Saudi. It looks like they might make another trip either later this year or beginning of next year, a big event. You've got Abu Dhabi in October. There's so many opportunities for him to fight on big cards. So in that regard, in terms of activity, I think he'll be totally fine.
Mm-hmm. The new matchup is Robert Whittaker versus Ikram Aliskerov. Should this be a title eliminator, Goes?
I don't think so. I think the only winner here is probably Sean Strickland. If you look at Bobby Knuckles, right, he's in such a bad spot because what kills him is that fight with DDP was so one-sided, right? Nobody's really questioning any of that. And then, Izzy's kind of had his number, so there's not really much for him to do. I think he just has to be one of those guys that stays ready and hopes that maybe there's an injury or something and he can slip in and do that, because what Robert Whittaker has shown us in the past or in these last couple fights, I think he is turning a corner. I think he's kind of figured things out mentally, and I think he can give anyone problems. It's just that history that kind of follows them, right? I don't think it's a title eliminator. I think Sean Strickland's sitting pretty right now, especially with the Cannonier loss.
Danny, you agree?
Unfortunately, I agree because I'm a big Whittaker fan, so I would love to see him fight for the belt. But yeah, Sean Strickland, things are playing out in his favor for sure. We have an expected fight between Adesanya and DDP, and like Goes mentioned, the winner there is going to have a win over Whittaker, and pretty decisive win, right? Strickland, yes, he lost to DDP, but it was quite controversial. So for me personally, I would still like the UFC to honor that. I would like to see Robert Whittaker get his due and fight for the belt if he wins this Saturday. But man, I can't say for certainty. And I felt a lot more certain if he were to beat Khamzat, then we could have been talking about a title fight. But all respect to Ikram, but I just don't think he's the guy that gets you to a title fight.
Plus, UFC promises just don't seem to mean jack. I mean, yeah, Khamzat versus Whittaker was supposed to be a title eliminator type, but wasn't Khamzat versus Usman hailed the same way, and that kind of just got swept under the rug. So it's like nowadays, just be ready and perform when the time is right. Grab that mic, make people, stir some emotions up. Colostrum in the chat room says Ikram's style is similar to DDP. He has heavy hands and KO power, and he's a 4-time Sambo champ. This is a bad matchup for Robert. Joseph Boza says, I agree with Fada. It's really just bad luck, and it sucks regarding Khamzat Chimaev and his career. Well, Joseph, let me add something to that. It is a little bit of that, but he also did come in quite heavy for that Nate Diaz fight, and so that kind of was his own doing. He wound up fighting Kevin Holland, but I don't know. I don't know if that pissed off the UFC at all in any way. Sky Wiesendel El Daddy says, agreed, Fada. Aliskerov is going to be right at home in Riyadh. So great comments coming in from the chat. I'll try to come to it one more time. Thank you all for participating. You can always participate via the chat on Facebook or on YouTube. All right, so Whittaker versus Aliskerov prediction, Fada. Who do you like here? We're going to get to see it anyway on the staff picks, and no one wants to know what I say because I'm in last place. Well, how about you? What do you think?
Man, it's tough because I think Aliskerov is very talented. I think his grappling could present problems for Whittaker, especially that we've seen that be a way that people try to beat Robert. Man, I think if he grapples heavy in this fight, it might not be the most entertaining thing in the world. But I think if he takes a heavy grapple approach against Rob, I think he could find some success. I do think he's a very capable striker, but I do think he needs to mix in the grappling. It's just the experience difference is so big. This is going to be just Ikram's third UFC fight. He is very good, though. He is a Sambo champion. He does have power in his hands with a level of competition you can't even compare. So I think logic would say to pick Whittaker, but that's kind of the thought process I had when I picked Whittaker over DDP. So I don't know. I think right now I'm leaning towards Whittaker, but I would not be entirely surprised if Ikram won.
Hard to go against Bobby Knuckles. What he's done at middleweight, aside from the Adesanya fights and then that loss he took to DDP, I mean, he's been close to perfect. But yeah, Aliskerov, no joke, man. He really is a tough customer, and he catches a break here, stepping up against the former champ. How about in that co-main event goes Sergey Pavlovich? Everyone thought he was going to beat Aspinall. Aspinall was the one coming back from an injury, and he got iced. But can Pavlovich bounce back and insert himself back in the title picture with a win over his fellow Russian Volkov?
Insert himself into the title picture, yes. But that picture, we never really know what the hell's going on with that, right? That's a big picture. It's got a lot of moving parts in it. A loss against Aspinall, he's a top dog. I get that. Pavlovich is a good fighter, and I think a loss at heavyweight isn't the death sentence that it usually is in other divisions, right? Those guys are just constantly revolving door. So I think he's a likable guy. I think he's got a great skill set. I think if he can come in and give us one of them statement wins, I mean, if you look up and down his record, he's not much of a decision guy. So I think if he can do one of those, get one of those statement wins, I think his name gets floated around. But, like I said, it's kind of chaotic in that division right now, especially up at the top.
Fada?
I think he takes a flight to Paris and fights Cyril Gane if he wins. That's what I think of Pavlovich. Because I feel like they're looking for an opponent. So maybe Jailton Almeida for Gane. But since he's already beaten Volkov, I think if Pavlovich wins, he could punch his ticket to a main event against Gane.
Gane Pavlovich, that's a fight right there.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Blades could stifle Aspinall. Aspinall's got a solid ground game too. He's not just hands, but Blades has the ability to just, like I say, take the air out of an arena with his style. I mean, he likes to throw hands. He's had some nice KOs in the past, but if he gets down with the wrestling and Aspinall has no answers, then all of a sudden he wins. Yes, he could get leapt over by the winner of Pavlovich and Volkov. And if Pavlovich can add Gon, wow, yeah, he could be back in the picture. That whole I hate to keep coming back to it, but that whole thing that happened with Poirier, lose the BMF, and 1 year later he's fighting for a world title, like, that's amazing, and every fighter should take notice. A loss isn't the end of the world in this sport. Guys, give me one fight to highlight outside of the main event, co-main event. We got to go quick here. Danny?
I'm going to go with Kelvin Gastelum versus Daniel Rodriguez. I don't know why this fight's not going down at the Sphere. I mean, this sounds right here like it should be for Mexican independence. But look, this is a great scrap. I'm still, and I'm going to hang on to this forever. I still believe in Kelvin Gastelum. I know his return to welter against Sean Brady didn't pan out the way he wanted to, and most people did. But look, Kelvin Gastelum, I do think he's got tons of potential. Great boxing, great wrestling. Finally, at his appropriate weight class. I wanted him out of 185 for such a long time. I'm still not ready to give up on Kelvin Gastelum. I do think he's got a promising future, so I'm going to highlight that fight. Gastelum Rodriguez should be a banger.
Goes, who do you like?
Hackersat and Gordon. I think it's styles make fights, man. I think these two always show up, so it's no secret what they're going to want to do in this fight. I think it's going to be a great one.
Pada, how about you?
I know I have no time, no pun intended, but I think Volkan and Johnny Walker, I think, Volkan hasn't been the no time that we got accustomed to from his first couple fights in the UFC, but if anyone can bring the crazy out of him, it's Johnny Walker.